Welcome to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Madingor. This week on Fixing South Sudan, we sit down for a candid conversation with Mabior G Mabior, Chairman of the Board of the NGO, the National Conversation South Sudan, and the eldest son of South Sudan's founding father and liberation icon, the late Dr. John Garang Mabior. Sir, welcome to the program. How are you?
Thank you, Mading. I'm fine, thank you.
The show is Fixing South Sudan. We debate pertinent issues of the nation. And I would like, in speaking to you, to go back to the epicenter of your political takeoff. You raised eyebrows in 2013 when you associated with the political movement of the then embattled first Vice President, Dr. Riek Machar, who used to be seen as the main political nemesis for your father, the late SPLA chairman and CNC. Why did you join alliances with him in 2013?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I think it's important to understand history because the question is a bit based on emotions, and I understand those emotions. But to understand the answer to this question, we have to go to history. And when I used to be asked this question, sometimes other journalists have asked me this question, I always answer and say that I did not join Riek Machar. Riek Machar joined me, but it's difficult to understand this because if you look at 2013 or just before the crisis of 2013 happened, there was a lot of civil society groups advocating for reforms in the country, that the country we fought for is not going the way it should be. We need some change, we need some reform, something needs to happen. And there were many voices, and I remember there was a Jonglei Peace Initiative with those of John Penn and like other people like Comrade Carbino, who ended up being killed in Jonglei during that peace initiative. People like Ding Chana Wall were writing, advocating for change, and some of them ended up getting killed. So before the crisis happened, the people of South Sudan had been trying to advocate for some kind of reforms. Then the crisis, as you know, began to happen where the ministers and the vice president and the secretary general of the SPLM was sacked. After they were sacked, then they began to associate themselves with the civil society that were calling for reforms. This reform agenda was kind of hijacked by politicians, and then it was turned later into a regime change agenda. So we did not join Riek Machar's regime change agenda. When the crisis broke out, peace talks began in Addis Ababa. So what we were joining was the peace talks. You understand? We were joining peace talks in Addis Ababa. The SPLM-IO, which is Riek Machar is the leader, was formed in April, and the negotiations in Addis Ababa started in January. You see, so our joining was joining a peace process to find a solution to the crisis that had come into the country. And we felt like we had the faculties to be able to contribute to a solution. And so the only space that was available for young people like ourselves was the site that became known as the SPLM-IO under Dr. Riek Machar. And I can tell you today that when we went to Nasser in April to endorse this whole IO business, had an election been held in Nasser, I would have defeated Riek Machar. But of course, because of social muscle and politics of elders and young people in South Sudan, like it ended up going that way. But had there been a democratic election, I would have won in Nasser.
Let me go back to the political context of 2013. Riek Machar and a number of politicians were talking about reforms. Before it became conflict, it was reforms within the ruling party. You are saying that you were also advocating for reforms and you found yourself in the same bandwagon. That's what you mean by Riek Machar joining you.
What I mean by Riek Machar joining me is that Riek Machar was in the government and we were outside the government advocating for reforms. He only started calling for these reforms when they got sacked. You know, after they got sacked, then what became known as the G10 went and recruited Riek Machar to be part of them, and they decided to use their positions as members of the SPLM and Riek Machar's position as the deputy chair of the SPLM because they had been sacked from their positions in the cabinet. You understand?
Formally, you joined forces, and like I asked, that raised eyebrows for many who never thought it was possible for the son of Dr. John Garang to work together with Riek Machar. Did that surprise you, and how did you take that?
Well, no, it didn't surprise me at all. And even for me, myself, it took time for me to be able to come to such a decision. Like, if it was in 2005, 2006, up to 2007, I could have never imagined myself being in the camp of Riek Machar. And I understand the animosities that, why it would raise eyebrows, you understand? But as time went by and we were seeing how the crisis and things were going in the country, we saw that, somebody like me personally, saw that joining Riek Machar would be actually something revolutionary to do. And I would have hoped, you know, because I think I underestimated the amount of animosity towards the person of Riek Machar, you know. But what's best for our country would be, for example, for a genuine reconciliation of our people, you know. And so maybe by joining the camp of Riek Machar, maybe it will change, like it will be a unifying factor to bring the people of South Sudan back together again.
The fight was largely taking tribal lines, and people thought that you joined the other side against your own people. The popular expectation, the expectation was that you belong solidly in the camp of Salva Kiir Mayardit.
Yeah, because of the tribal element of that. But I'm not a tribal person. Okay. You see, so I'm able to see the bigger picture. But you see the bigger picture while also understanding, you know, the local sentiments and feelings.
Were you oblivious of the history? You thought that you could just brush aside history for political expediencies?
No, it wasn't for political expediency. It was for the people of South Sudan's unity, you know, because what will be the future of South Sudan if we continue on the path that we are on right now, you know? So it was actually social suicide, you know. I was committing class suicide, you know. It was a sacrifice on my side, you know. It's unfortunate that the people also didn't see it that way.
Can you convince those who have been talking in the region, not understanding why the son of the founding father would leave and join the leader of the opposition? Can you make them understand?
Yeah, but that's what I told you, that the leader of the opposition joined me. I did not join the leader of the opposition.
That is your version.
And
the feeling is that you started working together, and you are saying that your issues at the time were one and the same.
We had our interests coincided when he was for the reform agenda. When he was no longer for the reform agenda, so it was not like we joined Riek Machar because he has broad shoulders or because he has a beautiful smile. It's not because we loved him personally. It was based on interest. And when our interests coincided and he claimed that he was for reforms, we went there. Young people in South Sudan, there was no space for young people. And you know, like the system is a gerontocratic system where the old people have sat on the necks of the young people. There's no space, you know, for young people, you know. So the only place where there was a space was in the opposition. And I took that gamble and made the social suicide to be able to further the agenda of peace in the country. And that was the only way I could have done it. There was no other way. And today, those who were talking and who had all that animosity, today they're not, like if you look at the social media in 2013, they not only subsided, 180, it's a 180 turn, you know. And so I think that
you have won.
No, I don't want to say I've won, but I made my point. I think I've made my point, and I left Riek Machar because he was no longer, and we had been warned, many people had warned us. I think the sentiments and the feelings are not as important to me, but people did warn me about Riek Machar, and that he's like this, and he abandons people, and this, and this, and this, but I could not, based on people's feelings, based on gossip, I had to witness for my own self.
Welcome back to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Mabior, and with us in the program is Mabior G Mabior, Chairman of the Board of the non-governmental organization, the National Conversation South Sudan, and the eldest son of South Sudan's founding father and liberation icon, the late Dr. John Garang Mabior. And we are speaking about his life. And I just asked you about what prompted you to be on the camp of Dr. Riek, which you explained. And I'm going logically. After the signing of the RCs in 2015, first Vice President Riek Machar made you a full-fledged minister in recognition of your active support to the SPLIO. Was being a minister a vindication of your political gamble, as you describe it?
No, but I want to go back to the Riek Machar. There's one, with the president, there was, recently we had a handshake.
We will come to that.
Which was witnessed.
We are going back to history. We are going back to history.
But it is connected.
And in history, you were made a minister, and people said maybe that's what Mabior Garang was fighting for. Was that a vindication for you, that you were recognized for your efforts?
No, because I wasn't recognized for my efforts.
What did you make of being made a minister, which is a major step?
I took full advantage of it because I knew actually it wasn't going to do anything. Like if I was to get into the ministry and use the ministry itself to do what I wanted to do, nothing was going to happen because it was, the peace process was not honest and there was mistrust between the parties. And so the peace was not real. And we were aware of this, and we were aware that war can break out anytime. But knowing the culture of people of South Sudan, how what we call wazifa in the local vernacular, position, is so highly respected in South Sudan, that when I was made a minister, you will not believe it, how my life changed, just the 70 days that I was a minister. People should try being a minister. It's very amazing.
Are you saying that it wasn't significant and that...
It was significant in that it rose my profile. It rose up my profile for me now to be able to be heard, other things. So the ministry position itself, had I just taken that alone, would have done nothing. But it gave me a platform for people of South Sudan to now say, oh, Katia Abany, or he has become a leader. He's now respectable because of by virtue of just having been given a position. And it happens to many people. Today, if you're appointed and it's announced on SSBC that Madingor became a minister, your life will change overnight. And if you're fired, the day you're fired, your life changes and goes back to...
Did you feel that the appointment was deserved and that, as I asked, was a vindication for you?
No, I just took it as...
People never thought that you knew what you were doing and that you were just...
The vindication was not the position. The vindication was being heard by people of South Sudan, not the position per se. The position was a stepping, was like a platform, a tool. It was not the actual what made people of South Sudan respect me. It was now when they were able to hear, because before they were, what they knew were the rumors that this guy, drug addict, he's a drunkard. That was my image. But now when I became a minister, people are like, okay, let's see what he will do. And then when they started hearing me, they were like, oh, you see. So the vindication was not the position alone.
And how was your interaction with the people when you became minister?
I just used it. I did not look at it as a big thing. I just looked at it as another tool in my arsenal, of contributing to the work of people of South Sudan. You know, and that is why I did not, when the war broke out in 2016, I could have stayed as a minister, you know, but I decided that no, like, just to be a minister for the sake of being a minister, that's not why I accepted the position. I accepted the position because I could be able to use the position to further my other things that I want to do.
You are actually making a very interesting point, because after the J1 dogfight, you opted once more to follow Riek Machar to what the Junubin called the bush, instead of striking a deal with the successive first vice president, General Taban Deng, who was friendly to you. Why was this?
I think it was a mistake. I can say it was a mistake, and I've actually said that Taban Denga is owed an apology, you know, by Riek Machar and the SPLM-IO, you know, because he tried to actually salvage the situation in 2016, but there was a bit of bravado and machismo within the IO, you know, and felt that they could take Juba maybe or something like that. But had we listened to Taban Denga, we might have been in a different place today.
You should have stayed.
Not necessarily.
You should have stayed, and that would have secured you a ministry.
No, I could have, if I had stayed, I would have stayed as a private citizen. Like, I should have stayed, yes, but I wouldn't have been able to stay and be a minister in that government, you know, because of the manner in which the 2016 dogfight happened and all that. I would not have been comfortable continuing being in government. But it was a mistake to leave again. You know, I could have stayed. Nothing would have. There was nothing chasing me, really.
Why did you decide to leave Juba, and you went out once more when you had the opportunity to continue on as a minister? Yeah,
like the ministerial position was not, like I said, it was not what I actually wanted, because there's nothing I could have done as a minister. I could have done things outside of being a minister, not only as a minister. So I was not there for being a minister. I was not there for position. As you can, if you remember, I joined the IO as a captain in the army. And I came back, and I'm sitting here today with you as a captain in the army. So my motivation always has never been that I want this position, or I want, you know, it has always been to further the goal of liberation. You know, we are an organization, a civil society organization, and when we are continuing the liberation struggle. That we, like, as you know, the liberation struggle, the history of the liberation struggle, there's the SPLA and the SPLM. But what many people don't talk about is the civil authorities of New Sudan, which was the civil society wing of the movement, you know. And so our work started from before the independence of South Sudan, for the liberation of our people. The independence of South Sudan does not equal to the liberation of the people.
Your motivations have never been about to acquire power.
No. No. Power is dynamic, you know. So legitimate power, which is the seat of government, you know, is not.
You did not rebel because you wanted power. No. You wanted change.
I wanted change, and you need power to make change. But it's important to understand power itself, because our people don't understand power, you know, and
that is another conversation altogether.
I think it is. It's a lot. And
why don't we take another break? And with us in the program, Mabior John Garang de Mabior, the chairman of the board and principal moderator of National Conversation South Sudan. We come back for the final round. When the RRCs was signed in 2018, you were nominated to serve as Deputy Minister of Interior. You chose to turn it down. Why was this the case?
It's because I wrote it in my resignation that I felt like we were being set up to fail. The agreement was not negotiated in good faith, you know, and security arrangements were not negotiated in good faith. and the agreement was going to fail. You know, it was clear that the agreement was going to fail because security arrangements were not prioritized. And by the time that the government was formed in 2020, I believe, there had been around 2 extensions or 3, and like, you know, people were wrestling until the government was finally formed without security arrangements. But if you read the agreement, by the time I take up my docket as a Deputy Minister of Interior, the pre-transitional period should have taken care of certain security issues in the country, you know, and those things had not been done. And intercommunal violence was rampant in the country and all kinds of different insecurities. And the mentality of people of South Sudan is that it's as if you come from your house, from your bed in your house, and you come and do things in the ministry. They don't understand that the ministry has development master plans, and like you don't come and do your own thing. You know, so the intercommunal violence that was continuing despite the peace, people saying give peace a chance, and intercommunal violence is still going on. It could have been a very easily blamed that Mabior is not the one, it has failed to provide security, when the reality is that the security arrangements have not been implemented. Then now when you are appointed, people say, oh, Mabior, congratulations, now you go and fix the security. That's not how it works.
To go and try to succeed or even fail.
That is not how it works. It doesn't work like that. How am I going to do the work that was supposed to be done by the security, by the security arrangements, Chapter 2? You know, Chapter 2 of the agreement should have been implemented before, like, I take up certain things, like Juba should have been demilitarized. There are certain, how am I the one now, just as a Deputy Minister of Interior, and then with the name and with the enemies that I have, it can be very easily made into propaganda. And like the minister himself will not be the one who will be blamed. They will come and blame the Deputy Minister because I'm a soft target.
It's a political opportunity for you to try your best. It doesn't mean that if you don't succeed, that the blame rests with you squarely.
No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that because I don't come from my house with different things. You know, like the Minister of Health doesn't come from their house with the medicines. You know, that we will change this Minister of Health, maybe the other Minister of Health will come with something different from their house. The ministries have a development master plan that they are supposed to follow.
Isn't that political idealism that you want things to be set right before you can come in?
No, it's not really political idealism, but there are certain prerequisites sometimes that are necessary. You know, because of course there's no agreement which is perfect. All the other chapters could have been left out. Everything could have been left out, and Chapter 2 only a few of the things implemented, and we would have had peace.
In 2015, you were Riek Machar made you minister. In 2018, he made you deputy minister. What happened? And is that part of your frustration?
He made me. How did he
nominated you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like, how would that be my frustration? Because like I got the nomination.
You are demoted. Well, your juniors were promoted, such as others that I will not name. Is that a legitimate part of your frustration?
It is not, but like I can say that you can't ignore human feelings. So human feelings are there, you know, like I'm not made out of wood, you know. So, but that is not like the biggest problem, because I was not the only one who was victimized. There were very, very many people in the IO, and this is what made the IO collapse in the end. But yeah, like you could, like it's a small part of it, you know. Human feelings are always a factor in any equation, and you ignore them at your own risk. You understand? So
you never took up the job.
Yeah, I didn't.
And in the end, it was given to someone else.
After how long?
After a long time. Yeah. And do you think that is justified?
Is what justified?
That it is justified that you fought in the political battlefield, and in the end, you ended up with nothing.
Well, it's the decision.
What was now your end game?
It was the decision.
You said that your motivation was not position, and now you were now opting to be on the outside as a private citizen. did that nullify the main reason why you went to the bush in the first place?
No, because I have been heard now. You understand? Because there's this idea in the IO camp that had it not been Riek Machar made you. If it wasn't Riek Machar, you know. But at the same time, there's an element of your own knowledge and understanding, you know. So the being in the IO made me be heard, you understand, and gave me a certain profile in the eyes of people. And now, if the IO felt like they don't need me anymore, you know, I can't force them. I can't impose myself on them, you know. And still, my objective is to help people of South Sudan. Helping people of South Sudan doesn't need Riek Machar to appoint you to be anything. And if there were some conspiracies within the IO that made people decide that they want to push me out of the IO, I can't do anything about that. But they can't stop my contributing to the socio-economic development of our country. Even
when you were nominated as deputy minister and it was not rescinded, you continued to be critical of the SPLM-IO decision to come to Juba. And in other words, there are times when you have described it as a surrender, because the prerequisites should have been done first before they came.
Yeah, we surrendered.
The SPLM-IO surrendered. And you were vocal about that. Yes. At what point did you break with the SPLM-IO formally, and why?
It was a funny situation that is difficult to describe, because there was a fake resignation letter that was circulating in social media for almost 1 year. And there was, at the end of the 1 year, Riek Machar ended up writing a letter acknowledging, accepting that resignation, which had been clearly established as a fake.
You had debunked it.
It had been established as a fake for 1 year.
You had personally debunked it.
Yes. And for an entire year, that paper was there as a fake. When the Kitgwang declaration happened...
Before the Kitgwang, that was the fake resignation letter.
When the Kitgwang declaration happened, then he accepted, you know, because he felt like maybe this guy might join Kitgwang. You know, we have victimized this guy at the end and we humiliated him. So maybe he will join Kitgwang. Now he began to think about human feelings. You know, when they were doing that thing that they did, they were not thinking about human feelings. But now when Kitgwang came up, they felt like, this guy, he's a strong guy. If he joins Kitgwang, Kitgwang might be strong. So let us accept the resignation to do some propaganda on his name so that, you know, the IO constituency can be like, Mabior has joined the government, or like his own propaganda to discredit me. You understand? But it was a panic. It was a panic in the last minutes when he was being deposed.
When he wrongly accepted your resignation, did you try to clarify?
No, I was very angry. I was actually very angry, and that is you could say, like you asked, like I didn't know how to answer the question you asked about at what point. That was the point. When Riek Machar accepted a letter he knows that is fake, is the point where I broke with the SPLM-IO.
And then you started to talk positively about Kitgwang. What was your opinion about Kitgwang?
Well, Kitgwang is SPLM-IO. You know, they are one and the same. And so Kitgwang has been taken as if it's an organization in itself. But Kitgwang is a village in Greater Upper Nile, in which the declaration was made, you know, by a part of the SPLM-IO. So it was a split in the movement, you know, and because of all this mismanagement in the IO management by crisis and the abandonment of, like I said, Riek Machar joined us, you know, when he lost his vice presidency position. When he got back his vice presidency position, he abandoned us and went back.
You agreed with the principles of Kitgwang, but in the end, you did not associate with them.
Yeah, because I had already left IO. I was no longer in IO, but the enemy of your enemy is your friend, you know. And if you can, if we could help the case of the group of Kitgwang IO be heard, then I think we would be like we would be happy about that. and Kitgwang declaration, the SPLM-IO Kitgwang group, deposed the politicians. So in a way I was agreeing with my deposition from IO.
But you were never a member of Kitgwang?
No, I was never a member of Kitgwang because Kitgwang is a military organization, and they deposed the politicians. But we felt like their case is genuine and we need to help them because it destroys Riek Machar's camp, and we are against Riek Machar now. And
in recent days, you have been talking against the camp of Riek Machar, or there's been a war between the two camps, NCSS?
I wouldn't. We have to divide the camp of Riek Machar because it's not one.
And you are saying that they are part and parcel of the failure that is happening, that the non-implementation of the security arrangements, they also are to blame. You have been articulating that.
Yeah, they are. And like I'm saying, there are different. I want to be clear because I don't want to lump all members in the SPLM-IO into some negative thing, because I have many comrades and colleagues who remained in the SPLM-IO who are genuine, who want change and want the best for our country. The security arrangements, like I was saying before, were not negotiated in good faith, and this has prolonged the implementation of the peace. It's like.
And the SPLM-IO is partially to blame because of what? Because they accepted to come before. They accepted to come to Juba before the arrangements were made.
They accepted to come to Juba before the arrangements were made, and they have also done nothing for their forces in the cantonment areas. There's also like the issue of the security arrangements not being negotiated in good faith, because let's say if we want to have a unified army, how can we train an army in 8 months? There are certain basic military drills and which can take 3 months, but for you to graduate a national army within 8 months, it's a bit difficult. You need at least a year. 3 years is preferable. So like if we had a security arrangements of 5 years, then it would be more honest. But if you're saying security arrangements should take 8 months, then it's a regime change in disguise, and no genuine legitimate power, somebody with legitimate power, would implement themselves out of power just like, like, okay, here, you sign something and Addis Ababa, here, take it. It has never happened anywhere in the world, and so there's some naivety, politically in the IO, where I think this naivety has caused a lot of problems in South Sudan.
And let me wrap up this interview by not only defining you about your past association, but also the present association. In recent months, you have been meeting with the President of the Republic of South Sudan, General Salva Kiir Mayardit, someone who is not strange to you, and some people have described it as a handshake. To liken it with what has happened between Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader, with Raila Odinga, was the leader of the opposition. What would you say about your meeting with the president?
It was a good meeting. It was, I don't want to say historical, but it was moving. It was moving for me. Until that time, I had not really had good interactions with the president and be able to meet him and those kind of things. And maybe that's what created a distance between us. Maybe there were people who created that distance, but then we've been apart for a very long time. And when I interacted with him, it was familiar. It was more like a family kind of affair. And so I was very moved and touched. We've never had that kind of relationship since my father died. So when he called for me, I can say that I don't know how to say in English, but in our mother tongue we say anachikok. I had left. I had gone because I felt like I was being mistreated in South Sudan, treated the way that I don't deserve to be treated.
And not listened.
And my uncle is there, Salva Kiir, who was with my father all this time. So I felt frustrated in a way, that people could come in and spoil our relationship and what. So I had left South Sudan, and in our cultures, when you move out, you abandon your home because of mistreatment by your kinsmen. You leave, and if your kinsmen love you, they send somebody to go and look for you, like, our brother, why did you leave home, come back.
And that's what he did.
And so when he called for me to come back, many uncles could have done that, like there was, I'm sure you've heard about the wars in our own community, where the person who the president sent to go and bring me to come and meet him is being condemned by the community, that why is it that guy who went and came with Mabior? But none of them thought about it. None of these so-called elders of mine thought about coming to ask me about what is wrong, And so this is why I say I was very touched when President Salva called for me, and I could not refuse. I said, let me at least go and hear what he has to say, and if we don't.
What is the outcome of your talk? Are you going to join the government? Has he offered a position?
Am I going to join the government?
Has he offered you a formal position?
No, I mean there was something discussed, but it is not.
Nothing is finalized.
No, nothing is finalized, and I don't want anything even, because it was a tricky situation. Because when I came, it was more for opening a new page with the president and being able to come to Juba and national conversation be able to do its activities. And we had that handshake. I was sick. He also offered me treatment for me to go and get treated. And so it's like...
Up to now, you have not joined the SPLM IG formally.
That's mischief.
You are a principal moderator of NCSS.
Tell me to join SPLM IG is mischief.
You have not made an announcement.
It's mischief. The president was going to, I didn't ask for anything, but the president, I heard from the people who he sent that the president wants to do something for me, and if I say no, then it looks like you're refusing what the president is saying, But I don't want. But the reason I'm saying that this is mischief. To tell me to join SPLM is mischief. I don't understand. I don't understand how I will join SPLM. We left Bor in 1983. We were there with the founders as little children.
But you had agreed with the mainstream wing, so you just came back.
No, because this is part of what we even discussed with President Salva Kiir. And even when I met with those of Uncle Awendit and Kwal Manyang, we talked about some of these things. And these are some of the things that have been making our movement quarrel since day one, since 1983. And the question of, is it SPLA, SPLM, or is it SPLM, SPLA? You understand? And we are more in the camp of SPLA, SPLM. For us, the movement is the SPLA. If you listen to the old war songs of the liberation struggle, Akuma, da SPLA, Kawabukum. It was never Akuma, da SPLM, Kawabukum.
SPLA gave birth to the SPLM.
It was a stillbirth, or it's it's a child which is kinwe, like a child which is malnourished, because the SPLA was the movement, and the movement was going to create the conditions for which the SPLM would have come about. The SPLM was a place where people who could potentially demobilize people in the villages, because you will come with your PhD from London, or you will come with your PhD from Washington, D.C. to join the movement, which has become popular. Then you will come and you will say, what will you people give me? And then when you don't get what you feel like you should get,
you don't formally join the SPLM.
You will go to the, not formally join the SPLA, You will go to the Hill Lazatu, you will go to your village, you will go to your village and you will start demobilizing people that this is the government of Jenge or this is the government of, and say that I don't want this, these people should not come here, but like you can say that SPLM kan mahal barakanufogu siyasin, because the real work was for shooting the bullets, and the SPLM had all kind of people who did not want to fight, did not want to be part of it.
Are you saying you have never left the SPLM? So you should
No. Like understand what I'm saying. I'm kind of saying that. But more specific than that, I'm saying I'm SPLA, I'm not SPLM. You see?
You're a revolutionary.
I am SPLA, and I told this to the president, and I told it to those of Kolkwaldi, that we missed a step in the transition, when we were to transition from the movement, an armed liberation movement, to a political party. We missed a step because the cadres of the movement who know the ideology of the movement were armed militants. They were soldiers in the bush. Like even if you were a political commissar, you were a soldier. Now when we get independence, those people become the national army. And
That's a long talk about
and their hands are tied.
What the SPLM has turned into. But as we speak, you are still the principal moderator of National Conversation South Sudan.
Which has its roots in the civil authorities of New Sudan. That's where we were born in 1997.
You are continuing the struggle.
Yes, we are continuing the struggle of the people's movement.
And is that part of any change, any sea change in the lives of the everyday people of South Sudan?
We will do what we can together with the people. It's like we are not the white savior. Like we don't have the white savior mentality. Even us, we need, like all of us here as young people, we are kind of in the same boat. Whether you're in Amura, in the villages over there, or whether you're in anywhere in the torch or anywhere, or sitting here in the hotels, we don't have. There's a certain level of financial freedom that young people don't have, So this is the next struggle, for our economic liberation as young people, power struggles, of the old people to use young people to fight for them, is what we are fighting against. To try and make young people know that we need to come together, to learn, to teach ourselves, and to leave for the next generation the modern techniques of wealth creation.
Mabior John Garang, thanks for coming to Fixing South Sudan.